Hello and welcome to another episode of FTD Talk. My name is John James and I am a writer and campaigner for male victims of female perpetrated domestic violence. Today I'll be talking to tattooist Bexx and I'll be asking her how tattoos can help with mental health. I hope you find it interesting. Welcome Bexx to FTD Talk.
Hello.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do and where you work?
Yeah, obviously my name's Becky Barker. I'm from South Birmingham. I've been tattooing since 2008, so 13 odd years. I've worked all over the place, lived in Wales for a couple of years, and then ended up in Malvern, Worcestershire, because my husband's from here and just wouldn't leave. And I've started off with a little private studio here that's just kind of grown from strength to strength, and now there's 8 of us, and we're hopefully relocating to a bigger shop. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but it's all going good, so I can't complain.
And before we talk about your work, can you tell me, if you know, how many tattoos you've got and the reason why you were tattooed?
It's kind of just one big one now. Like I've got my arms, hands, back, torso, legs. There's kind of more tattoos than skin now. The reason I started getting tattooed in the first place, I think, was more to do with identity than anything else. I struggled a lot as a teenager and never really fit in anywhere. And at that point, girls didn't have tattoos and playing rock bands, and I kind of did all of those things. So giving myself the identity of a tattooed person enabled me to kind of feel quite empowered and less shy. And I suppose it was just giving myself something about myself for people to look at that wasn't just like my genetics and stuff. And if people thought they were ugly, it was fine, because I really liked the way I looked with tattoos. So it was just a really empowering thing for me. And then of course they're addictive, aren't they? So it just got bigger and bigger. And so.
And are you still adding to your tattoos now, even now?
Yeah, because of course every time you put a tattoo on your skin, you end up with another space, don't you? So you have to fill the space with something. So it's just never ending.
And every time you have a tattoo, does it empower you more?
Yeah,
even now?
I think definitely. Yeah, it's just I mean, I've been quite lucky. A lot of my tattoos have got really good memories attached. So some of them have like a personal meaning, like my half sleeves are based on tarot cards, which had the death card, but it means transition, and then the star card, which is optimism and a bright future, and then I've got the hermit on my back. But then because I've worked in so many different places and got tattooed by people that I've worked with, it's like they're all just nice little memories of times that I had. And I think the older I get, the more I kind of revert back to getting stuff that meant a lot to me in my childhood tattooed. So I've got a squirrel on the back of my leg because we used to hand feed squirrels in the back garden, and it's just like little kind of nice things to remember things. And hopefully when I'm old and forgetful, I'll be like, oh yeah.
And when you were tattooed, did that influence you to become a tattoo artist?
Yeah, definitely. I think my first career plan was to be a rock star. And then when I had my first tattoo, I was watching the guy do it and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I reckon I could do this. And I asked him then, I was like, how do you get into tattooing then? And it's that question we get all the time. And it's really irritating when people ask that, unfortunately, because it's just a really common question. So of course he just rolled his eyes at me and was like, just get an apprenticeship. I was like, okay. But at that point, like, tattooing wasn't mainstream like it is now, and there wasn't really much information on how to get an apprenticeship. So I just started really harassing people and drawing a lot, and ended up getting an apprenticeship with that guy 5 years later. So it was good fun.
And do you think over the years have societal views changed from tattoos, because they weren't very favorable some years ago?
Yeah, it's funny. Like I said, like when I first got tattooed nearly 20 years ago, especially for girls, like girls didn't have sleeves, and it was quite a shocking thing for girls to have like big kind of tattoos. I think for me it kind of gave me that out. We were all misfits. We were all just outcasts of society that didn't really want to fit in. So it was like, wow, I'm just going to get tattooed then. It was a bit of a appeal to society. Like, whereas now it's definitely, since all the TV shows came out and everybody sorry, has all these really profound meanings for their tattoos, and it's become a very kind of mainstream profession where people that might not even like tattoos themselves are tattooing because they're good at art, and it's enabled it to become more accessible. And I think it's quite rare that you meet someone that hasn't got a tattoo now, and it's just not something that we bat an eye at anymore, which is great. But at the same time, I kind of miss that taboo element to having tattoos. Like, we got a tattoo to be a bit edgy, it wasn't to be cool, and now it's kind of gone the other way. So yeah.
I don't know much about the history of tattoos, but can you just tell me a little bit about their history? I know they've been going for thousands of years.
Yeah, so the oldest human that they found was Utsi the Iceman, and he was dated at 5,000 years old, and he had tattoos on parts of his body, and they correlate with Chinese acupuncture points. So he's got these little lines all over his body. So it's interesting that the oldest person ever found has got tattoos. And then through history, like indigenous cultures and tribes have used tattoos for identity, so to signify what family they're from. Sometimes it's a rite of passage for usually a teenage boy to go through having their family crest tattooed. And yeah, it's got an amazing history in healing and just identity, really. And you know, achievements. People would get tattoos for achievements, so it's almost older than religion itself, tattooing. And I think it's really important to remember that and kind of honor that tattooing is an ancient craft, and it helps a lot of people physically as well as mentally. So I was just reading before we came on, there's a tattoo anthropologist called Lars Krutak. He's got a really great TED talk. But one of his colleagues, they went to where they found Utsi the Iceman, and his colleague had chronic asthma, and they had a specialist in like chi and acupuncture points and things, and they replicated the tattoos that Utsi had on this gent, and it actually got rid of his asthma for 2 years. So I think there's yeah, and it's like you don't know whether it's like a kind of mind over matter kind of healing, because obviously the mind has such a massive effect on physical healing, or whether it's actually just something that it's just been lost through time that could actually help a lot of people. But I just find it so fascinating that tattooing can have such a massive effect on someone's physical and mental well-being. It's amazing, really.
Well, how would you say that tattoos help, especially today, in people's mental health? The people that see you, for instance.
Yeah, so I think people get tattoos for lots of reasons. Like for me personally, I had self-harm issues growing up, and getting tattooed stopped that happening, because obviously you don't want to kind of destroy the tattoo that you had, and it covers the scars associated with that. So it enables people to kind of move forward if they have got scarring that they want a pretty picture on. In general terms, tattooing gives people body confidence. So if someone, you know, hates their legs or hates their arms, or, you know, and doesn't get them out when they're on holiday or whatever, if you stick a tattoo that they really love on there, all of a sudden they're like, woohoo, like, you know, out there in shorts and stuff. People use tattoos to signify an achievement or a fresh start. So for people that are, you know, they might have a tattoo to symbolize their sobriety, or to show that they survived suicide or whatever people have survived. And people have tattoos to commemorate a loved one that they may have lost, and it's all a very empowering thing to do for yourself. It's like the greatest gift you can really give yourself is that ability to move forward from trauma with something, you know, to remind you of how strong you are. It's just yeah, I think most people I tattoo have a really positive mental health effect from being tattooed, no matter what the reason, really.
And what kind of people do come to see you? Is it every kind of person?
Yeah, pretty much. I think, yeah, I think I'm one of the few artists that I have pretty much a 50-50 gender client base. A lot of tattoo artists, will have more women or more men. But yeah, I just, because of the way I work, and I think in the past I've always been made to feel a little bit self-conscious in tattoo studios. Like, they're quite a scary environment to be in. You feel a little bit judged, and I've always gone above and beyond to make sure that where I work is not like that, and everyone is welcome, and it's a safe place, and people can offload on me if they want to, or if they just want to have a cup of tea. And for that reason, I think a lot of my clients become kind of friends, and it's just like a kind of social club more than anything. So yeah, everyone is welcome, and it's always a really nice little kind of environment for people. It's just yeah.
Well, I must admit, I mean, all but one of my tattoos have been done by you, and I have found it from day one. I found it very welcoming there,
Yeah.
and it was like I'd known you for ages, for years. The very first tattoo that I had, and I there's very few places where you can walk in and have that feeling of familiarity.
Well, yeah, that's it. And I think, like, because I think most tattoo artists, well, most people have some kind of trauma, and I feel like I'm quite a good person for people to talk to as well. So it's like that. It's almost like a free therapy session with the tattoo, if that makes sense. um, which is always really nice, because the more I can just help people, it's, because the thing is, like, when you get a tattoo, it's there's a correlation between the pain that you feel through getting tattooed, and it can bring up quite a lot of trauma for people. And people will associate, if they have a bad experience getting tattooed, that stays with them, and it basically, even if it's the best tattoo in the world, they will hate that tattoo forever because of the experience that they had getting it, because you're very vulnerable. So making sure that the studio that I work in is a safe place where that doesn't happen, and everyone has a really nice time and leaves feeling good, is really, really important for people's lasting mental health as well. There's quite a lot of there's a lot of physical things that happen when you get tattooed, and it can bring up all sorts of things and emotions. So it's important to make sure that people feel completely comfortable when in that process.
Do you think that's through your experience in the past, through your self-harm? Do
Yeah,
you think
definitely.
that's developed who you are?
Yeah, I think it's actually, it's easy to look back on. I When I look back at my teen years, um, if an outsider was looking at it, it would look like it was quite a horrific time. But to me, it was a time where I was able to become um, independent, and I had a lot of therapy to get through the self-harm issues, and I just didn't know how to deal with emotion. So if I got really angry, and if the only behavior that you've seen, because my poor dad had a mental breakdown, the only behavior that you've seen is someone basically taking it out on themselves, and you kind of develop that routine. So CBT was amazing in helping kind of break that, but it does give me a better understanding of people and what support they need with things like that. And I think it's awkward sometimes, because I do have some clients that, instead of self-harming, will get tattooed. It's like their self-harm, and I don't feel completely comfortable being that source of trauma that that person needs. But if it helps them feel better and stops them kind of self-harming, like a lot of people, like, if they get frustrated and angry at life and stuff, they're like, oh, I need a tattoo. Which, is fine, because it's that release, but at least it's something positive rather than something negative. But yeah, definitely, I think just being a misfit, and having crushing imposter syndrome, and always feeling that everyone is judging you, I don't want anyone else to feel like that. So I kind of go above and beyond to make sure that that doesn't happen. I'm not
Can
sure if
I
I'm making.
can I ask why you thought people were judging you when you were a kid?
It's just, I think it's just, it is this imposter syndrome. I think, like, every creative, like, everyone has it, don't they? Like, I still get it now. I feel like the unpopular kid, but I definitely wasn't. So I think, because I was brought up by my dad pretty much, I didn't have access to all the things that girls normally have. So I was like really rubbish at doing makeup, and I was wearing like boys' clothes, and so I had to kind of accept that I wasn't really going to fit in. And I suppose that just dawns this thing of like trying not to care, but at the same time, you know, when people comment on your looks and stuff, it can be quite devastating at that age, which is why I think tattooing again helped, because I was actually like, wow, I've got tattoos, I'm pretty cool. So like, but yeah.
And can we talk about nip?
Yeah. So about probably about 9 years ago now, I was tattooing at another shop in Malvern, and a lady came in, and she had had areola tattooing done in hospital after having a breast reconstruction, and it had faded really quickly, and she asked me to just do it permanently as a tattoo. And I'd never seen anything like that before. I didn't even know that that was something that they did. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, if I could use my skills as a tattoo artist to help people give back something that they've lost, rather than just doing pretty pictures, like how cool is that? But at that point there wasn't any training. It was only nurses that were doing the work for some reason. And then it was about 3 years ago, I came across this charity called NIP, and they're a collective of tattoo artists that are doing restorative tattooing realistically and permanently. So the hospital tattoos that get done, it's called micropigmentation, and the tattoo fades really, really quickly. And it can have quite a massive detrimental effect on people's mental health, because if you imagine, not everybody needs a nipple, it's not an essential thing, but to a breast it's like putting the cherry on the cake. It adds that aesthetic of it being a breast again. And if someone's had that tattoo and they're like, oh god, it looks like a boob again, and then the tattoo disappears, it can be quite devastating. So I did training in areola tattooing, and then I've been working with NIP ever since. So we are the UK's first cancer tattoo charity, and our mission is to empower and dignify breast cancer survivors with 3D realistic permanent nipple tattoos. And my role really has been trying to create awareness surrounding it. So I've done a survey, so I've asked people how they felt when their nipple tattoo faded, and we're trying to present that to the medical field and be like, why don't you just let tattoo artists do it, because we can do it and it will stay and it won't, and yeah, it's been really great. And we've got a campaign at the minute about choice, because I think true empowerment comes from having an informed choice on something. So we believe that everybody should have all of the information before they make the choice about a treatment. So yeah, that's kind of where my work is with that, and I love it. And I've met so many amazing people, and it's just really nice to be able to gift someone like a healing tattoo when they might not even realize how important that tattoo is until they have it. But it's an honor to be able to do that for people, I think. So sorry.
You don't charge for that service, do you?
No, I think yeah, I just can't bring myself to, like I say, it's a gift, it's an honor to do these things for people. The idea of the charity is that we have a directory of artists throughout the UK that can apply for funding from NIP, but at this point I'd rather just let the charity keep the money and just do it myself, because I tattoo body art 3 days a week, so that's my living, and then I can afford to kind of spend a couple of days a week doing free nipple tattoos.
And do you think the medical profession are letting people down by doing what they're doing?
Yeah, and I think they are aware of it as well. Like all of the nurses that I've spoke to, and I spoke to quite a few like managers and surgeons, and they're they're seeing these tattoos come back, and they know that they're not great quality, but it's just the NHS in particular is such a massive kind of conglomerate of policy, and they're not even allowed to kind of recommend anyone outside of the NHS. So the only people that can do it really in the NHS are the nurses, who get very little training. And it's that thing about, because I'm a tattooist, I'll sit and draw nipples. Like, it's just part of, you design it before you tattoo it. Whereas if you're a nurse, you're probably not going to sit and do that because you're so tired after your shift. It's almost like something extra that they have to do on a Tuesday afternoon. It's like, oh, you're tattooing now. Whereas someone that's dedicated to it will put a lot of time and energy into experimenting with, like, you know, making things real. And so yeah, it's sad because a lot of the nurses doing the work and a lot of the people in the medical profession know that it's affecting people, but they just can't do anything about it at this point. So we'll just keep kind of pushing away and then hoping that at some point we'll be allowed to take the burden. But we have found that well, I found anyway, the local hospitals around here aren't actually offering the service anymore because of COVID. So I've offered my services to them, but they're just trying to find a way in which they can kind of recommend me without recommending me because they're not allowed to. It's really confusing. So but yeah, just keep kind of letting people know that the service is available and they don't have to pay, and you know. So.
Well, if that's helping people, why aren't the NHS recommending you? Why aren't they allowed to recommend you?
I don't know, because I know that individual surgeons can, like, they can say, oh, there's someone that does, you know. I have colleagues of mine get referrals from surgeons, but I don't know, I don't really understand it at all, to be honest, but I don't know.
And what do you think of scarification and voluntary amputation?
I don't know, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I don't judge. Everybody has their thing, and that's fine. Like, if that makes them happy. There's also have you seen the brutality kind of movement where they basically just will tattoo someone with black ink, because, like, to cause as much pain as possible to see how much the person can endure. That's not something that I would want to put myself through. I do feel sometimes that maybe it's because I mean, not the amputation thing so much, but scarification, because tattooing is now so accepted. Some people might be looking for that thing that makes them outside of that, because tattooing was always that kind of thing of, like, I don't fit in with you lot, I'm gonna decorate myself so I stand apart. Whereas if everyone's got tattoos now, it's harder to stand apart, which I think is why people are getting, you know, ink injected into their eyeballs and things like that. But scarification's a weird one. I've seen it healed, and it looks kind of cool to start with, and then after a while it just any pattern that you do will just kind of blow out and look strange. But yeah, the amputation thing, I know that there was a gent in Wolverhampton who, I think he ended up in prison because he was doing he was sewing up people's you know, when people stretch their ears and they're kind of left with, like, big holes. He was sewing those because cosmetic surgeons wouldn't do it, but then he also removed people's nipples, but that was so that they could have some people want, like, a really decorative chest piece tattoo and their nipple gets in the way. So I don't know, really. It's hard, isn't it? Because I can't put myself in that shoe where I would shoe in those shoes where I would identify as someone that wants to be an amputee. Like, my granddad was an amputee. He lost his hand in the war, and that was obviously a massive kind of thing to him to be able to. I don't know why you would want to put yourself through that, but then I don't understand people's traumas. Maybe if there was more help with mental health and working through these issues, then people wouldn't resort to, like, extreme kind of acts like chopping their fingers off and things. I don't really know. What do you think about it?
I think if you having a part of yourself amputated, I think that is a mental health issue. I really do, because, like, that's permanently scarring yourself. Now, I know my mum would say that tattooing is permanently scarring yourself, but that is, I mean, removing a body part is, I don't know. I think, like you said, it's because like when you had tattoos, it was to stand out. Now so many people have got tattoos, like, again, you've said, you can't stand out with a tattoo.
Yeah.
So people are so desperate to stand out now that they're taking drastic measures. It's I like you. I don't understand it. I don't judge, but I do think if you're having a part of your body removed, then it's a mental health issue.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's that, I mean, tattoos are life altering in the fact that, yes, you look different, but I mean, I don't like the idea of laser removal, but at least tattoos can be removed if like worse came to worse, or they can be hidden. But yeah, an actual kind of creating a disability for yourself is quite an extreme measure, isn't it? Definitely.
Are tattoos painful? I know that I've had one tattoo that's been painful, and none of my others have been. But in most cases, do you think tattoos are painful?
Everyone is so different. I think tattoos are painful. I cry when I get tattooed. I had my ribs tattooed recently, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be from what I remember having the other side done. But it's I think everybody has like a limit. So most people kind of sit for maybe a couple of hours and they can cope quite well. And then for me, if I go past that point, I kind of lose my control and then just kind of go into this kind of panic state, I guess, and start crying and like don't like it anymore. But yeah, you get some people literally they must be so sensitive they can't even just sit still at all, like they're very twitchy and like oh. And then some people like yourself will just sit for hours as if it's nothing. So I don't know whether I suppose it's nerve endings in the skin, obviously makes everyone different, but also your mental state. I think if you're feeling happy and chilled and good, then you'll be able to last a lot longer with pain than if you're in like a kind of fight or flight reflex where you're just panicking. I saw a really interesting thing on my daughter's kids TV show, and it was saying about how smiling means like they basically were putting people's hands in ice. Sorry, I've gone off topic, but and most people could only last like 5 seconds with their hand in ice before pulling it out, and then they made them do it while they were smiling and they lasted like double the time. So it's interesting that I think mental kind of state has a lot to do with how much pain we can endure, as well as kind of physical attributions as well.
And if you're coming along for your first tattoo, how does somebody prepare for that?
So it's important to find an artist that you like their work. I think because Google is such an amazing resource for people looking for tattoos, but I think people need to understand that we can't really copy someone else's tattoo. We have to make it our own because it's plagiarism. So first of all, it's kind of finding that person that you like their artwork and you like the way their tattoos are healing and things like that, and you like their personality. That's kind of important as well, isn't it? And then yeah, just allowing your artist to kind of advise you in placement and design and things, because we do have more experience and we know what will look good 10 years down the line. It's not just about creating something that looks good for the photo. We've got to make sure that lasts the rest of your life, kind of thing. But when it comes to physically getting tattooed, the best way to prepare is to have a really good breakfast. Make sure that you've got your blood sugars up and you're feeling good. Bring drinks and snacks with you, and just relax and kind of enjoy it really, and have a wash.
That's important for you as well as them. And how can people get in touch with you, especially for the nipple tattoos?
Yeah, I've got so the studio that I've got is called Lumina, and we've got a lot of really great artists. They're all very, very chilled and easy to get on with as well. So that website is www.lumina.inc. My personal website is www.beckyadelaidetattoo.co.uk, and that has all my restorative tattooing, because I do areola tattooing, and then I can help reduce scarring and things as well, and then obviously decorative tattooing. So all of the information that you need is on there, and then I'm on Instagram as Becky Adelaide, and yeah, Lumina's on Instagram as well, and Facebook, and just the general kind of normal ways of finding someone. But yeah, I'm just Becky Adelaide Tattoo.
Well, thanks, Bex, for talking to me today. It's been really interesting talking to you, and I'll be seeing you soon for more tattoos.
Yay! Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Take care now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.